Welcome to the Gen AI podcast, where the future meets fun and tech talk trends. Get ready to dive into the world of artificial intelligence like never before. Your hosts, Dale, Alan, Greg, and Val, are about to take you on a wild ride through the AI universe. So, buckle up, tune in, and let the AI adventure begin.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Gen AI podcast, episode 13. Al, lucky 13.
Lucky 13. 13 is a curse number. Which is it?
Probably the curse, because it's only you and I. Once again, we don't have Greg. I was hoping it would be lucky because maybe Val would have come on for 13, but not to be.
No.
But anyway, we'll crack on without them because we want to crack straight into this. Apple and OpenAI have just announced they're doing something together. I haven't myself seen any specific demos or any specifics on how it will come together. I mean, there's plenty of articles out there that people can read, but I think perhaps this is one where we can futurescape and crystal ball gaze a little bit and come up with ideas of what may or may not be. What do you think?
I guess we could, right? But isn't that what everybody's doing? And everybody's going to be wrong, and it's going to be something else, and it's probably going to be useful. And it's not going to be what we think we want, but it's going to be what we need, because that's how products work and how Apple usually does it.
Okay, well, what do we need?
If only we knew, we'd be a better species. What do we need, right? What do we need? Something that actually does things for change, right? Something that doesn't remind you it is important to ... and then just gives you a bland, useless recipe. Sorry, I sounded very cynical. I'm not. This is interesting and exciting. I mean, I'm not switching to an iPhone at any point soon, but for different reasons.
Yeah, I haven't used iPhone in years, to be honest.
I don't subscribe to their pricing model, but I get it. I mean, it's a smart move, right? Like, it kind of reminds me actually of Apple Maps, right? Who owns an iPhone and uses Apple Maps?
Yeah, good point. I don't know many.
And so at some point, Apple realized and set up a partnership with Google Maps, right? Because they were like, oh, we're trying to build a Maps app, but actually Google Maps is just better, so let's just put that in. I think that is a similar strategy where, Apple have a very big AI division.
Yep. For
one, Sammy Banjo works there. I've got a funny story about Sammy Banjo that I'm going to tell you. So Sammy Banjo is the least famous of the two Banjos, right? Joshua Banjo is the one that everybody knows, that is on the Nature paper with Hinton and LeCun. But Sammy Banjo, in his own right, is one of the top AI researchers in the world, and he leads AI at Apple. Or at least did until recently. Something tells me that actually he may have left Apple. I don't know. We'll verify that. This is more just me gut feeling it now. Funny story about Banjo is that every time I go to a conference, I bump into Banjo every day.
Okay.
Not intentionally. And you think ICML this year was like 22,000 people. NeurIPS was even bigger. I think it was like 30,000 people. This year and last year and the year before, for the last 3-4 years, every day I'm at one of those conferences, I'm walking around and I see Banjo, to the point that there's one day that I didn't see him, and I texted my friends I haven't seen Banjo today, I hope he's okay. And then I saw him later in the evening, so because we were at an event, the same event. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. I think, yeah, Apple, back to the main point, right? Apple have a big AI lab, right? They've got their own LLMs. they've been building models for ages for all sorts of things, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like Siri is just Python code, right? So the fact that they decided so early to take the Apple Maps strategy is, I think, a signal. It's a signal that probably Apple doesn't want to buy 20 data centers just to make a model. Because right now there's like, the recipe for building something like GPT-4 is actually quite simple. You need a huge amount of GPUs and basically all the data under the sun, right? So I don't know what the details of the deal are, and maybe that is something that I'm willing to speculate about, right? Not so much what are the features going to be like, because whatever you think it's going to be, it's not going to be that.
Yep.
But the details of the deal, I think there's like zero cash is changing hands. So what is changing hands, right?
Yeah. What is changing hands? Because on the face of it,
There's only one thing. There's only one thing that could be changing hands if it's not cash, right? And it's data. So what data are Apple giving to OpenAI?
Yeah. All of the data on your iPhone.
Well, maybe not that, right? Because the laws still exist.
Yeah, but if you learn it anonymously, aren't there loopholes?
Anonymized data sets are a very big thing, right?
Yeah. So there's loopholes, right?
Well, it's not a loophole, right? If you remove all PII and you have generalized pattern data, then you can create a data set. That is actually, in my mind, it's okay. I mean, it's legally okay to share, but it's also morally okay to share, right? So if you're not saying, hey, Dale did this search on Friday night and he was in this location, but you say, most people in this location on a Friday night have done these top 5 searches, that's got nothing to do with you anymore, right?
Yeah. Yeah. On that though, okay, so that's the sharing of the data. And sorry to switch gears so quickly,
No,
because
go for it.
I'll forget this with my small brain.
It's not small.
I was thinking about it as well. Is this, are we truly now getting to an assistant in your pocket to do everything for you, where you literally just take your phone, talk to it, and it does stuff. Book me a flight, the cheapest flight to this. Book me a Uber. Book me a hotel. What's the way? Yeah, I mean, we get that already with the likes of Siri, but is this going to like supercharge Siri?
I mean, that's the obvious direction that it was going to go in, right? Like,
yeah.
The thing that is just completely surprising is that Amazon did not switch Alexa to just be completely run by Claude. And Google still haven't completely switched the Google Assistant to be completely run by Gemini. And so, like, yeah, obviously, that's the no-brainer thing. Siri is going to switch to be... Well, I say that, but if you look at the announcement, they say that Siri will ask you, is it okay if I go and ask ChatGPT for this? Right? And I think from a UX perspective, that's a little bit disappointing.
Yep.
The direction of travel is that, though, right? The direction of travel is going to be that, I mean, maybe it's not going to be GPT-4. It'll be Apple's own LLM, which, they actually published 2 very interesting open source LLMs. It'll be Apple's own LLM that runs Siri. I mean, that's the natural direction of travel, right? And it's I think natural that assistants become agents, right? So you have and I think I've said it on this podcast before, right? Like, agents need to do stuff. That's the whole point, right? Like, an agent needs to do things, right? So, like, sure, book me a flight. That's an example, but you say, hey, my flight is late. Actually, you don't. Those are the kind of things that could be completely automatic at one point, right? But you say, hey, my flight is late, and it goes and finds everything in your calendar and rebooks things and talks to people to move appointments because you're landing late and you don't even actually have any signal because you're in the sky, right?
Yeah, it just rearranges that your cabbie picks you up if you're taking a cab, slightly later, that type of thing. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
That'll be amazing.
And that's what agents should be doing, right? In the future, like they should be just taking action, right?
Can this partnership be, or the possibilities of what this partnership might mean, can this be translated to advantages to the construction project management arena as well?
I've been thinking about that. Other than like the normal quality of life improvement that this is going to bring for everyone, I can't see anything that's specific to construction or project management, right? It's not like all of a sudden Siri is going to have a project management plugin.
Yeah.
Via ChatGPT or not, right?
I'm just thinking in terms of comms. If you did have, like, if it did know that on your device it can read your emails, and it knows that based on your signature, this is the role in this company, and can read all of the emails that you've been writing about the specific project you're on, and you're a project manager. And so it's got all of that context now. Potentially, if you've linked your phone into the document system, maybe not, it's got access to that. And now you're on site and you're taking a picture on your phone, then all of a sudden can it automatically, if we went into agent territory, then go, okay, cool, well, I've seen the picture now all of a sudden it triggers something to go and look at all of the context on that project, and whether or not you have to inform someone that this is wrong or this is right or on track. I don't know. I'm just trying to...
I mean, that's not going to be OpenAI and Siri, though, right? That's generally where agents will be going.
Okay. So we're not talking specifically... So OpenAI, Apple, this is an agent territory. Is that what we're saying?
I think it is agent territory, but it's agent territory for normal general public quality of life, right? That's their target user, right? So that whatever they're going to build is going to be for like book me a taxi, book me a flight, email my friends, make a Christmas card, all that kind of stuff, right? Or like I need to find a good gift for my wife for her anniversary or husband for the anniversary or whatever, right? That's also the majority of use cases, right? Like how many people out of the whole of humanity will have the problem that you just described, way less than 0.1%.
Yeah, you're right. That's very, very specific.
So
what's
the Apples, the OpenAIs, the Googles are going to build for that, not for this. You'll get stuff for free, right? So like a general agent that is just generally better will be able to do some things, but it won't do the specific technical deep thing, right?
Okay. So I'm trying to put the hat on. I'm trying to search for a use case here, and maybe it's a solution looking for a problem that I'm trying to do, which is the wrong way around. But maybe if we're talking about people's calendars and where they should be, maybe then if it does have some sort of context of what you should be doing, it can tell you what you should be working on that day on that construction site to ensure that you're working on the right things and progressing on the right things. I don't know.
Yeah, you could have a like, what's in my email? What do I need to do today? Kind of things. Yeah. And that is the type of question that, anyone would ask of these agents. It just so happens that, your emails and your to-dos are specific to your job. So you'll get an answer that's specific to your job, obviously. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe let's just, listeners forget about everything we've spoken about on the first 14 minutes because there's no use case. No, I'm just kidding. I think it's interesting because, as you say, it'll impact day-to-day lives of people and how that will translate into the audience that listen to this podcast is to be confirmed, I think, because it may not. We are struggling to find a use case. So is it big news in the construction industry? Probably not.
I mean, it's
However,
big news for everybody, right? Which like
yeah,
implies that it's also big news for the construction industry, but it's not
sure.
big news specifically for the construction industry, I think.
Absolutely, and thanks for clarifying. As always, you translate my South African into English, right?
I don't. I really don't.
That's why we make such a good duo, because there's only the two of us most of the time. Still love you, Greg and Val, who's never been on. No, but it's. I think it's interesting because we can actually watch with interest and go, is there, and be curious, go, is there a specific use case that could come out of this? I think that's the intrigue for me, is we don't know. We're in exciting territory, which is uncharted, yet we don't know the full impact yet. It could be minor. It's just exciting at this stage.
Yeah, I do think we're more in the world of auto-generated GIF memes for your WhatsApp chat than help me do my job kind of thing.
Yeah, so you could take a picture of yourself.
If anything, like if I was going to hazard a guess, like who's angling for the B2B help me do my job, that's Microsoft Copilot, not Apple.
Yeah, good points. So, what else do we talk about then, if that's the end of that conversation?
I don't know. The weather. Can we change the weather with AI?
Could we?
Because I am done.
To be fair, June has been dire in the UK. Yeah. I know we have listeners in Canada and India and all over the world, which is fantastic. But yeah, if you haven't been following the weather patterns, we can give you a weather update, because it's just been like winter. Has it got past 20?
Yeah, it has. I still have the heating coming on all night. It gets into single digit Celsius overnight. Sorry.
I've been trying to manifest. Update. Yeah, I've been trying to manifest the summer and wear shorts into the office. It's not working.
No, that'll just get you a cold.
Exactly.
Yeah, but like, where can we go from this? I think, well, actually, like something that would be nice to speculate is like, what's Apple's next steps, right? Because Apple never stopped building Apple Maps.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
I don't think that this means that Apple's AI lab is gonna slow down or work less.
It won't. Maybe that's where the economies of scale come. Maybe they're supercharging each other. Who knows? Who knows what the deal is behind closed doors?
Yeah.
The other one, though, when you said that, which sprung to mind, is, well, what's the other big OS doing? What's Android/Google/Gemini doing?
I mean, they've been doing stuff for a while, right? Like it's not like they've been sitting on their hands. So if you look at, I mean, there's even TV adverts about it, right? There's Android powered by Gemini, and there's but most of those features end up being in the camera, right?
Yeah.
Camera or review my messages. I am actually a big fan of Gemini in Workspace. So this is, let's call it Google's version of Microsoft Copilot. But the quality of the content that it produces is really good, right? So, and it may be because it has access to, I don't know, 25 years of my emails, but
yeah. So that's quite interesting, actually, probably for listeners as well. You're the CTO and founder of one of the leading AI organizations in the project management space.
Thank you.
Do you use?
I'll take the compliment.
What do you use as your day-to-day operating system? Phone? Are you an Apple person? Windows? What do you use personally?
Yeah, great question. So a lot of it is actually like historical reasons, at least on my phone. And I think this is true for most people, right? So I run Android on my phone.
Yep.
Mostly because that's where all the stuff that I've paid for is, right? So I carry this baggage on from phone to phone of all the different things that I've I've set up over time. And now that I think about it, like other than that, there is really no blocker from switching over to Apple or vice versa either, right?
Okay.
Because all the apps that you have on one, you kind of also have on the other. So you just, you log in somewhere else and ta-da, everything's transferred over, right? And we are getting more and more towards, this was the vision in 2003 of where we would be in 2008, and now it's 2024, where like you don't have any data on your device. Everything is cloud-based, right? So, you log into your app and all your stuff is there, right? I'm obviously a little bit more tied to Google Workspace, and Gmail for my personal stuff, because that's where like, more than 20 years of my life are, and all the documents and all of that. And Mplan does use Workspace as well. In terms of computers, I kind of run anything. It really doesn't matter. So like this computer that I'm calling you from, or like recording from, is on Windows 11 for no other particular reason that it's my desktop and I like playing games.
Okay.
So there's more games available that just run natively in Windows. So I just do that and it's easy, right? My laptop is a Mac, but actually if I'm doing any work, I'm spinning up Linux VMs or logging into Linux machines in our data center. And in fact, usually I edit code remotely onto one of the Linux machines.
And
if I'm writing code.
And is that the choice of most coders, programmers?
I think a lot of people now run stuff natively on their Mac sometimes when they're developing. If they're doing stuff on their laptop, it depends on the complexity of what you're doing as well. Okay. So if you're building server-side applications that are going to run in Linux, you might as well develop in Linux. Just because there's less distance, right? Like Mac OS is actually still a Unix-based system, so you can transfer most things relatively easily.
Yeah.
But it's not a lot of lift to just have a Linux VM that you develop on. And so I think a lot of people still do that because then the setup is identical.
Yeah.
But you edit the code on your laptop and it is pushing updates remotely. So Visual Studio Code will do this for you automatically. It runs an agent on the target machine. So you don't even kind of know that you're doing that. Most of the time you don't think about it. You're just editing code in the Visual Studio Code. So really like I feel like PC wise, I feel pretty platform independent. Also because of the same thing, we live in a world where you just log into things in your browser and everything lives in the browser. The only exception is P6. So
do we want to go there?
I mean, we have to go there because
let's go there.
I mean, we don't have to, right? But like, there is a Windows VM that I maintain just so I can log into the same environment for P6 from wherever I am.
Yeah. Just for those that are not down with the lingo, VM's virtual machine, right?
Oh, yes. Sorry.
See, I'll clarify your acronyms. But that's a very good point because for our audience, a lot will be thinking Primavera, P6, OPC. Sorry, Oracle, but OPC is not ready yet for me. Yeah.
They've been building it for 10 years, no?
Yeah, I know, but you must have tried to use it and look around and play around. It's, yeah.
No comment.
Yeah,
Look,
yeah,
I mean, I appreciate that it's a difficult task to do, right? So like, I don't want to diss them for trying to do something that's really hard, which is basically convert something from the 80s into the modern world.
Yeah, I'm not having a go. I'm just saying it's not ready yet. On our sister podcast, I've said on numerous episodes our Primavera P6 is clunky, and we've asked Oracle folk to come on and clarify why it is so, and we failed. So
I can tell you why.
Well, we haven't taken guests on this episode, but you don't tell us why. If anyone from Oracle is listening, please come on. We'll take you as a guest so you can come and tell us about what's going on in the Oracle world.
if there are any developers at Oracle that work on P6, please make yourself known, because I don't think there are any.
Absolutely.
There must be some. There must be some.
There must be some. But the other thing I was thinking as well is, okay, so you just gave us a great overview and painted the landscape of your ecosystem in how you work, and it sounds like you're pretty agnostic in terms of whether it's Android, iOS, Windows, etc.
Yeah, in terms of like personal opinion, I'm very agnostic. Like each
Yeah.
platform has its benefits. And the Apple ecosystem, it's a little bit closed, so there's a lot of things that you cannot do in terms of like controlling your own device, but it is very safe.
And whilst
And
these
for most,
So go
that's a
ahead.
good trade-off.
Yeah. And whilst these products aren't specifically AI, they are related to AI because all the organizations behind them are heavily involved in AI.
Yeah.
Which leads me then to go, okay, well, what are other people generally using? And most organizations have Windows, right? They have
Yeah.
Microsoft. They
Most
have
people use
Microsoft.
Windows, right? So yeah.
And so in the
Well,
Microsoft,
it's kind of balancing out, right? Because like laptops, I think now Apple has the lion's share of the laptop market.
so I'm specifically thinking of the project delivery organizations that exist.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
that's entirely
not
Windows and
yeah.
Teams and Office, right?
I 100% agree with you. Public at large, yeah, it's shifting, but you're talking about organizations, right? It's Microsoft, and with that, I think what you commonly find, because it's easier, is most people are, because they're in Windows and Microsoft, they're looking at Azure, Fabric, Power BI, etc. Whilst there's Looker and there's Looker from Google, and there's Amazon Web Services and all these other ways to create effectively the same thing. But I think if we're talking specific use case here with AI and where people should be upskilling, and I know we've spoken about upskilling before, but if we're moving the dial, then so to speak, we should be concentrating on, well, what is Microsoft doing? And do you still get Microsoft phones? I don't even know, because this is where my head's going with this, is that, you used to
I
get
don't know.
Microsoft phones. Do you remember?
I haven't seen one in ages. I think
Yeah.
if anything, Microsoft bought Nokia at some
Okay.
point, but Nokia phones now run on Android. I don't know.
They possibly do, but as long as they got Snake, they're still worth purchasing, even though they're £26. Best game ever.
Yes.
But where I'm going with this, sorry, is that if organizations are predominantly bought into the Microsoft environment, what are they doing in terms of AI? And now you mentioned Copilot there. If we are now beginning to realize the extent at which LLMs can be used with all of the data that we've got, and we're starting to create ingestion pipelines in Azure / Fabric, and then plugging in your co-pilots. Where is this taking organizations? Because now all of a sudden we're going, okay, we can see if you're using, let's say you're not using a bespoke or independent document management system, you decide to use SharePoint, right? That's in Microsoft. And you start plugging everything into the same ecosystem. One, my first question is, do you have to have it that it's all in the same ecosystem? Two, are there advantages to having it in the same ecosystem or not? And then three, what abilities does that give us if it's all set up and talking together?
So
Sorry.
I think there's two patterns, right? One is the big vendors, and by that I mean basically just Google and Microsoft, want vendor lock-in, right? This is one of the games that Microsoft is incredibly good at. They are incredibly good at setting a platform up to be as broad as possible so that you never leave their ecosystem. Unless, and so like the default decision is that you don't leave the Microsoft ecosystem, and then you may want to, right? Because nothing's stopping you from having Office 365 and Slack. But you get Teams included. Why would you ever want Slack? Right?
Yep.
So, and like the only reason why we'd want Slack is that it's a better product, and you have to just weigh that cost against the fact that you get Teams for free.
Yep.
Same thing for Zoom, right? So there's and this is also true of Google, but like they're not as good at playing that game, right? I don't think Google are good at playing that game where like this is, you know how procurement works, right? Procurement basically runs off of checklists and tick boxes, right? So Microsoft does this incredibly well. They'll show procurement. Yeah, but you don't need to buy Slack because chat is already included in Office 365. And you don't need to do this, and you don't need to do that, and you don't need to do that because it's all in Office 365. Never leave our ecosystem. You are locked in forever, right? And they charge you $4 per user per month or something like that, like maybe 10, right? $10 per user per month, which is seemingly is not a lot of money. And if you sum all the other alternatives together, it comes up to a lot more. But that ensures that those $10 are happening in perpetuity. And there is nothing better for a company valuation. And as a founder, I've had this reminded to me basically 3 times a day for the last 7 years. Nothing is better than recurring revenue. And if your recurring revenue is as stable as the revenue of Office 365, you're basically invincible, right? You have a guarantee that you're going to get $10 times number of users for the rest of the existence of Office 365, right? Same game with Workspace. Although Google do play that game a little bit less. They still do play that game, but not as aggressively as Microsoft, right? And I think there's So that's one pattern. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Get vendor lock-in. Lock you up for life in our ecosystem. It's Hotel California, right? Which is also what Apple does with phone users, right? You're locked into an Apple ecosystem. All of a sudden, like, oh yeah, I've got all my songs. Like Spotify has kind of changed that, but like you had your songs in iTunes or Apple. What's their new music streaming service? Right, whatever it is, right?
Music.
Apple, fine, simple as that, right? But like, I have all my photos on iCloud, and all my messages are backed up to iCloud, and like, you're locked in. Are you ever gonna delete that account? Right?
I did it once.
Same as Gmail, right? Are you ever gonna delete your Gmail account? No,
you're not.
Right? So that's one bit, right? Like vendor lock-in. Part 2 is the other vendors. So like, vendor lock-in, you're inside the castle, you're building big walls. Everybody else is outside the castle trying to get in, right? So the name of the game there is integration. We're doing it. Procore announced it today, right? Procore was like, oh yeah, our AI assistant. They didn't even know that Procore had actually released their AI assistant, but turns out they did. It now, you can talk to it on Teams, right? Technically, it's not a very difficult thing to do. It's actually a smart move because they know as well as we do that everybody in construction is using Teams. So instead of having to log into Procore to go talk to their assistant, 5 steps, many clicks, you have to leave the place where you already are, which is Teams. A lot of cognitive load. Let's just integrate. Talk to Procore whilst you're on Teams. Smart move.
Yeah, I think.
And everybody's doing that, right? Like,
yeah, the integrations are really fascinating and interesting because, as you say, it's becoming less and less of an issue. You know, I think just 6 months ago, the chat was very much around like, what ecosystem do you have? Which one have you bought into? As we were just sort of describing there, you're kind of agnostic, but you're in one or the other. But with integrations, it's becoming less and less of an issue because you can, easily
you have less boundaries, right?
Yeah, fewer boundaries, and also bring it back to the Microsoft discussion topic. a week ago, they actually did announce that Copilot can grab information from SharePoint and start doing a form of analytics for you. And so you
Of
can go and
course.
grab this folder, do this, and it'll give you stuff, and you can start interacting with that. So that is a good thing as well, listeners, if you haven't seen that. Now, if you then go and...
I mean, it was obvious that was going to happen at some point.
Yeah,
no?
absolutely.
Like, they would have been dumb to not build it.
Yeah, and and we've spoken offline, right? It's not necessarily what companies are talking about on what they're releasing and doing now. It's what aren't they doing, right? What is the next step, the next phase? And I know the sort of the theme through this since we started was crystal ball gazing or futurescaping, whatever name you want to give it. But
Talking nonsense is what I normally describe it as.
talking nonsense, yeah, exactly. Just releasing steam. Sharing your thoughts because you don't think anyone's listening yet. We got one or two in Canada.
Nice.
No, bring it back. I think if we crystal ball gaze with what is next, if you're thinking Copilot plus SharePoint, you got to think, well, Copilot plus emails, Copilot plus all your Word documents, your PowerPoints, your Excels, all of your Power BIs, all of your where's your data stored.
This is like I'm gonna actually speak nicely of Google for once. It's something that Gemini has been doing for like a couple of months. Like I can get stuff out of Google Drive whilst I'm in my emails and figure something out, and have it write the content into the email pretty easily. And I think those are the, I call it the things that enable productivity hacking to the max, right? Yeah, but I actually, like, if you think about it, that builds the lock-in, right? Because Microsoft and Google and Apple are inside the castle, right?
Yeah,
they're inside the castle and they want to keep people in. Whereas if you think about Procore or M-Plan, but like let's talk about like bigger vendors. They're kind of like they're all outside. They're in like maybe a little vertical. Little construction is not little, but compared to the entire planet, it's still little. And they're trying to get stuff out of the castle, right? They want users to come to them in a way. So you have to put something in, right? And so, like, obviously, like the no-brainer thing to do is if you got an agent that's based on chat that you can chat with, and that ecosystem has a chat platform, one plus one is still two. Until proven otherwise, right?
Until it's 3.
So that's where I think the two games are going to be played out. Now, this is going to get muddied a lot more when we start seeing agents talking to agents. Because then you don't even have to build an API, right? And you don't have to build things that use an API. You can just kind of say, hey, here's my Teams login. And you wouldn't actually use the login, but you'd use like, a more secure authentication method. But like, hey, go on Teams, other agent, and you can talk to Copilot. And it'll get stuff out of SharePoint for you. It's like zero work, right? You just have to tell one agent where the other agent is and go grab stuff.
And how far away are we from this?
I don't even think we're away from it, right? Someone just needs to build it.
Okay.
There's
So
no technical barrier for that to happen, other than maybe perhaps end user license agreements somewhere forbidding certain things, but I'm not aware of anything.
But you could build that into the agent, right?
Yeah, you can build it into the agent, and you can tell an agent, hey, there's another agent over here. Why don't you go talk to that other agent? And these are the things that this agent can do. So, if it's Copilot, you can ask it, hey, you can write an email, you can get data out of SharePoint. If it's the Procore agent, you can tell me about my RFIs or whatever else I've got stored in Procore. and then you can have that third agent be the thing that glues them all together.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, maybe for the next one, something that would be quite interesting is we should test how we can potentially get the sound running from a device onto this recording. And then maybe we can speak directly to ChatGPT
Oh,
through
okay.
voice.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't know where you
Right?
were going with this, and like, what kind of device have you planted where? Yeah,
There's a
that'll be
cable
fun.
coming out the back of your neck, Al,
Yeah,
in the Matrix.
I am already the device.
Yeah. So I think that could be fun. And ask it about itself.
Sure.
Technically, it should be possible.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it on Riverside, but
Yeah.
you know.
Or we could probably use OBS or something.
Oh yeah, I guess you could do that. Yeah.
Yeah, because you plug in multiple devices. I could plug in a device. I've got a sound mixer as well, so
Yeah.
you could plug in multiple devices into that, multiple channels. But that's
Yeah,
the
if we
type
can
of thing
figure it out, that sounds like fun. I'd be up for
exactly,
it.
and that's the type of thing you get
In
on the
fact-
Gen AI
in
podcast.
fact,
Our
we
planning
can
for the
tell
next
it-
episode.
We can tell it that its name is Val, and then we'll finally have Val on the podcast.
And we can take his bio, plug it in there.
Yeah, system prompt. You are Val. This is your bio.
I haven't
Let's
used
do it. Let's do it. I'm in.
I haven't used voice too many times on ChatGPT. Can it emulate voices? Can it reproduce?
There's like
someone?
a set list that you choose from.
Ah, okay, fine. Damn it. Well, we'll try and use an Australian one. That'll be amazing, actually. But you see, I was saying there, that's what you get on this podcast, is we're actually planning for the next one. So you're listening to us planning for the next one. You're not actually getting any information from us. So hopefully you enjoy it.
No, and also it's not like we do any planning in between before the episode. So this is the planning.
Yeah, exactly. So you're part of this, listener, as much as we want you to be. You're part of this. So tell us what you want us to plan as well. But no, I think at this stage, if we're rounding it up a bit, I think we've concluded that amazing, interesting news on Apple and OpenAI working together. Is there anything we think right now that there's a specific use case for the construction industry? No, but still exciting for the general public to see where this goes. In terms of
and anything that improves someone's life will also improve the life of people in construction, right?
100%. So we shouldn't discount that piece, but specific for the construction industry, not specifically, but for public at large, yes. Potential huge game changer. Don't forget to watch potentially what the others are doing as well in that space. It was really interesting and fascinating because I've never asked you this, even offline, what you use. I've seen you obviously use different devices, and I know you have a Mac and things like that, but it's great to get a window of your world in terms of how agnostic you actually are when it comes to different tools and operating systems.
Yeah.
And then, going specifically into most professional use cases for our listeners in terms of Microsoft and what they're doing there, I think, it's only going to pick up as well. Do we have the answers now? No. But the reason it popped into my head to try and get ChatGPT on the episode is not to really emulate Val, but actually to ask it what it thinks and see what it generates or hallucinates. So, yeah. But anyway, look, we have kicked the tires for a good almost 45 minutes and made shit up. Anything else you want to make up before we head towards the end of the pod?
Not make up, not in terms of like hallucinations, because we've done enough of that. But I do think that the Siri plus ChatGPT thing on the iPhone could be going in the direction. Do you remember the Rabbit? That device that was supposed to like change the way we use phones, but actually doesn't seem to work very well. If Apple does it, they're probably going to do a version that works.
Was that the wearable? The wearable that you clip on your...
No, not that one. It's like the little... It's got like one scroll wheel, and all you do is talk to it and say like, book me a flight, get me a cab.
Yes.
Rather than actually use apps. And I think that's probably where this is going.
Okay.
Use
Okay.
the apps for you rather than you use the apps on the phone.
So they're pulling you in that direction, which is interesting as well.
That's what I would like to see anyway.
Yeah. Well, this is recorded. It'll go out into the public.
And then it'll be very clear that I was wrong and there's be evidence of it. Perfect.
Well, no, not only that. I was going to say that, what's going to happen is that we're going to come back to it. And if it's real, right, you're either going to be, in Greg's words, in the last episode, a prophet or a heretic.
We'll see.
So there you go. But anyway, we have lots of fun on this podcast, Al. If for no one else, we entertain ourselves. So it's been a pleasure talking to you once again. Hopefully, listeners, you've enjoyed what we've spoken about as well. If not, once again, let us know. Tell us this episode was crap if you want. Episode 13, the unlucky one, perhaps. But no.
Or the one that saw the future.
Or the one that saw the future. Exactly. But we'll catch up with you on the next one, everyone. Hope you keep well, keep liking what we're doing, keep following us, and keep your comments coming. I think that's key as well. And we'll monitor the space for you.
Yes, please.
But for now, we will bid you farewell and catch you on the next episode. Bye for now.